We are back with Hour 2 of the Marc Patrone radio program on this Monday edition of the show. So glad you could be part of it. Our number is 416-640-0200. Well, it's official. Joe Biden is a walking dumpster fire. Yeah. But you know what? The thing is, he's turning out to be maybe the most entertaining thing about the whole Democrat Party leadership race. And that is saying something, because on the weekend in Hampton, New Hampshire, he called a supporter of a lying dog-faced pony. This is what he calls his supporters. Anyway, before we get to Miles, let's just listen to what happened in Hampton, New Hampshire on the weekend. Can we hear that? And here it is.
Hi, my name is Madison, and I'm an econ student at Mercer University. And, oh, awesome. So I'm going to be a little bit mean for a second, okay? So
she's going to get all, it's all giggly here. Well, listen.
So you're arguably the candidate with the greatest advantage in this race. You've been the vice president. You weren't burdened down by the impeachment trials. So
she went off the reservation there a little bit.
The participation. So how do you explain the performance in Iowa, and why should the voters believe that you can win the national
election? So Joe's not happy with that question.
It's a good question. Number one, Iowa's a Democratic caucus. You ever been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
And everybody thinks it's funny that he just called this woman a lying dog-faced pony soldier. Miles Kristen, this is getting entertaining, but I tell you, if I'm a Democrat south of the border, in the United States, obviously, watching this thing, I'm thinking, get this guy away from a microphone. What do you think?
Well, the one thing about Joe Biden is that if he becomes the candidate, then I think it would be obvious for most of the Democrats that they're going to lose. You know, other candidates would really give them a false hope, and I'll go as far as to say that there are maybe 2 candidates out of the 12. Well, actually, not including Tulsi, because they're not even going to give her any possibility of the nomination. But of the two of the candidates who might get the nomination, they theoretically could win, but most of them have no chance. And
why is Tulsi still in the race? I mean, she knows that she doesn't have a hope, and many of the other borderline candidates, Marianne Williamson's and others, they dropped out. And yet Tulsi, despite being called a Russian asset by the Clintons, now she's suing Hillary for $50 million or whatever it is, although apparently they're having a heck of a time serving Hillary.
Yeah, I don't know. The people trying to serve Hillary Clinton like that, it's got to be the scariest job ever. Like Tulsi or not, agree with her or not on every issue or not, she has principles, and I mean, she's literally giving up her congressional seat for this race, and she's able to use it as a platform for a message that I'm just surprised more people haven't bought on. Joined on to.
Oh, listen, I like Tulsi. I think she's the closest thing to somebody in that race that, a lot of maybe conservative-minded Americans can see voting for her. She's a patriot. She's not a radical communist like the guy who apparently is the front runner. Although there is a story in Zero Hedge. The Clinton machine will do anything to stop Bernie Sanders. And go ahead.
One real quick thing I want to say about Tulsi is she's the only person I've heard make the claim that if you actually want this, free health care, free education, well, you can get that money out of the military spending and so forth. And, there's some truth to that. Especially if it was, all and everything education, if you were to say, okay, we're going to cut military spending, but provide the first 2 years of tech school on a local level. That is more doable in some aspects. But you were saying about the Clintons.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that they are pulling out all the stops now to try and stop Bernie Sanders from becoming the representative. Now, they did, I guess, is the tally in Iowa official now? Mayor Pete Buttigieg, did he take the state?
That's what it sounds like. But, you know, I mean, the whole
Are they going to do it all again?
Caucus systems are even stranger than regular primaries and how they actually get done.
And so but then you hear that Bernie is the guy to beat and that everybody's training their guns on Bernie because he's more radical even than some of the lefties, far left crowd in the Democrat Party. But I guess they see him as a guy who will get annihilated by Trump. That he has absolutely no hope against him. Is that pretty much it? The reason?
Parts of that is unpredictable because I do think there is that left-wing populism that Bernie can really get, and I see him, you know, being able to appeal to the hardcore socialists who don't normally vote for Democrats. I could see him gaining some support from Green Party types and so forth. I mean, he's a bad candidate, but maybe he's a little stronger than we might realize. I mean, ultimately, I think it's probably going to be a guy like Buttigieg, because Buttigieg is enough of an elitist, and you know he'd probably be the military pick because he's going to claim to get us out of war, but then in the end he would probably be like Obama to get us into more wars.
No, absolutely. But
I'm very surprised by the whole Bloomberg situation, and that like now he's going on Jimmy Fallon, and he's being more accepted by Hollywood, you know, entertainment and so forth, and it's just a very strange situation. I mean, I saw that Bloomberg event in Madison, Michael Douglas event.
Oh yes, talk about that. That's right. Yes, I meant. So you went to that thing, and you were not allowed into it, correct?
Oh, no, I was able to go into it.
Okay.
I was actually very open to the public, and I was really, really surprised. You know, the funny thing was, like, I'm walking up to it, and I swear to God, the cops, like, they knew I was coming. Like, there were cops outside, like, oh, hey, Miles, how's it going, Miles? Like, I mean, now the cops in the town kind of know me from activism and yada, yada. But I go in, and there's Michael Douglas talking about how his father had just passed away at 103, so it's not a big tragedy, you know. A very successful actor, passed away at 103, you know, and he's talking about, like, the last thing my dad said was, Mike can get it done. And then as people were leaving, I'm like, what do you think about Bloomberg? And they're like, he can get it done. It's like, it's really simple, simplistic messaging. And all the people leaving the event, I'm asking them, like, what do you think about the fact that Bloomberg supported George W. Bush? And all of them, no problem with that. You know, one of them was like, I liked George W. Bush. I liked what George W. Bush had to say. And so it really shows you, you know, if George W. Bush ran as a Democrat today, they would accept him. There is a wing of the Democratic Party that just doesn't care at all about principles, values. You could, you know, I hate to say it like this, but you take a turd and you put rainbow-colored sprinkles on it, and they're going to be like, oh, look at that piece of gold, you know? Like,
let's hear a little bit of this, some of the video that you shot at this Mike Douglas Bloomberg event.
He was a Republican when the Republican Party
so he's talking about
something different than does
Bloomberg.
Now. He was an independent, and now he's a stone-cold Democrat.
Michael Bloomberg was a Republican who supported George W. Bush.
That's you.
Michael Bloomberg was a Republican mayor who supported George W. Bush. You do not touch me, sir.
Okay, at that point, you've got security people saying, all right, move along, Miles.
No, there weren't security people. That was the guy.
Oh, who was
One
it?
of those guys was the guy who was the leader of the pro-marijuana organization of Wisconsin, who now says he's on sabbatical. And it's like, whoa. You run a pro-marijuana organization called NORML, Wisconsin NORML, and now you're campaigning for a guy who refers to marijuana as a narcotic. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, who championed stop and frisk. And I guess if you were found with a joint in your pocket, well, then you'd be hauled off into a jail.
And I just found that clip from Bloomberg where apparently he was on a radio interview one day, and Bloomberg said that during stop and frisk that the whites were stopped too often and minorities too little. It's like, what?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's usually don't you hear the opposite is true? I mean, yikes. Okay, so but Bloomberg has what, $80 billion. So for him, like,
I don't know. I think it's only like $54 billion. But,
okay,
it is really. I mean, granted, there was only like 30 or 40 people that showed up at this event. This was Madison, and I was so surprised. There was one woman. She's like, I don't have any opinion. I'm just here to see Michael Douglas. It's like, really, that's all. Carrot on a stick, little kitty cats chasing the ball. Like, I mean, that's what it takes. Remember, back in 2016, it was like, oh, Hillary Clinton's got Jay-Z and Beyonce, and it's like they don't even need that level of star power. They pull out Michael Douglas or some actor who was better known in the 90s or 80s for that matter, and people are going to get all googly-eyed. It's just insane. Well,
I see Gordon Gekko, the guy who was on Wall Street. But there's a point at which Michael sort of looks in your direction, and he gets the fear of God in his eyes, almost like if you freeze frame it, it's like, oh my gosh, there's a guy with a camera, and he doesn't look friendly. But kudos to him for going through it and cheering for his own candidate. I mean, did you catch any of the Oscars?
I caught a moment of it yesterday, and the whole thing of Brad Pitt talking about Bolton. It's just like, come on, man. Bolton should have been on trial for his war crimes.
That's absolutely true.
The fact that Bolton didn't testify for Trump's impeachment, other reasons to impeach Trump, yes, just like every president. The little Ukraine debacle, whatever, that was not the thing to impeach him over.
Yeah, that's the one area where Trump has been a complete dunderhead, is in bringing people like Bolton into his cabinet and expecting these people to be, loyal. I mean, that's the one area I think above all others that think that Trump really has fallen on his face. I mean, he seems to have learned his lesson now, but it really took the better part of his first 4 years in office. Miles, thank you so much. Really appreciate this.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Come back soon. Miles Kristen, check out Wisconsin International Radio if you want to. And that video, by the way, is online. If you want to check that out, it is worth it for sure. It's called Michael Douglas Bloomberg Event, and by Miles Kristen. We'll be back with more News Talk after this.